It's just loading.
Hello.
Okay. Woohoo!
Welcome back to
the channel.
Greetings from the void.
Yes.
Nori's here in spirit. They have COVID. They are in. Zoe's FaceTiming. Bear with me. Hello. Okay. Okay, I shall pass it on. We've literally just gone live. I'll pass it on. See you in a minute. Zoe's going up to get her laptop, so she's going to try from there. She's having connection. Welcome to this December 2021 book club pick that's happening in the new year, in January. This one's going to be interesting.
Yeah, a good end to the year.
If only in part because the person who picked it is not here. Grace isn't here. Zoe will be here in a minute. She's just sorting out her connection issues. Nori, as we say, is from the void because they have COVID.
And I look like I've been hit by a train.
I feel like I'm sitting far enough away from the camera. My hair is covering enough of the breakout that's been going on my forehead for people to not notice. So don't make it full screen.
I'm doing my best Virgil impression minus the makeup at the moment.
How's 2022 going, guys?
I'm still getting over the bug that I had that I swear was COVID. So,
yay!
And also, Carry On Along is kicking my butt at the moment. The amount of work that I'm doing for it, I'm knackered.
Take a break, dude.
God, I've gone every single day so far. I refuse to have a break until what? 7th of March, isn't it? When we're doing Anywhere the Wind Blows, Nori? Something like that.
Maybe I can't remember.
In March,
I think it is like March sometime.
Anywhere the Wind Blows is a chunky beast.
It's such a big book. Why did you put that book in February?
Because it's such a good book. And also, we needed to do December with Carry On because it's set in December.
Ugh.
That's not the stream we're doing right now.
What we're doing right now is talking about Bone Crier's Moon.
We're doing this book, which is our December book club pick. It was picked for Grace. Safe to say that it's not our favourite book club pick.
Yeah, the year started off strong.
We're going to try and be diplomatic with it.
Try.
No one said I had to be diplomatic.
I'm saying that you have to be diplomatic.
All of us.
So we're going to try and be diplomatic with this, but we have thoughts. That's nothing against Grace for picking it. Like it was an interesting read. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think this book had potential, but
yeah, definitely room for potential, but the execution was not there. I think that was the problem that a lot of us had.
Yeah, definitely. So while we're waiting for
the execution was there, it just wasn't in the way that it should have been.
Hey.
While we're waiting for Zoe, do we want to do our general thoughts and ratings spoiler free? Janet, do you have balance?
I do. Spoiler free zone.
Yes, spoiler free zone. And do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say like it was that bad, but I did not enjoy it, needless to say. And I think I was one of the first ones to finish the book. So when I was giving it the rating, I was like, is this too harsh? Like, what if it's just me? But then after a while, people started sending messages being like, guys, like, what is this book? So I was like, okay, I'm not alone. What were my main criticisms? I didn't really like any of the characters. Like, some were better than others, but they all annoyed me on some level at some points. And the other main thing was that I don't think it needed 3 main characters or 3 narrators. I think that added to the problem of it being way too long. It could have been easily a 300-page book, and that would have been fine. It could have covered everything. And I think the author wanted there's too much going on, like a lot of it, make it like a trilogy or something, and like break it up that way. That would have been a lot better. And I think then it would have had more time to have for world building, for example, or like letting us really see the magic system, because a lot of it was just thrown in at seemingly the last minute or just for necessity or something like that. So that's why I think the execution was not that. But yeah, I think I would have been fine with 2 narrators. That would have been fine. Even though I didn't necessarily like them, I think Alice, is that how we're saying her name?
Alice,
yeah.
I was reading it as Elise, and it almost ruined Elise for me.
Yeah. The guy's name.
Bastian.
Yeah, Bastian. I think if they were the main character, like the narrators, it would have been okay. Like that would have worked for me, even though I didn't necessarily like them as characters. I think it would have flowed better, because I don't think we really needed to see everything happening with Sabine. Nothing against Sabine, but I just felt she didn't really add all that much, really, and it made things a little bit confusing and a bit messy. So that's my 2 cents on
what I missed.
Just my opinions, basically. And my spoiler-free opinions.
Just opinions and ratings.
Yeah.
Before we start, Mum won't shut up about this. Zoe, have you had a package from Nan yet in the post?
Yes, I got it when I got home from work. It made me so emotional.
That's all we needed to know.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I'm going to be writing to her to say thanks. Oh my god, did I just spoil it? Is she there?
No, she's not here now.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just Mum going off to work.
Yeah, I got it earlier when I got home from work. Yeah, I got it when I got home.
Anyway. Bye.
Sorry.
Bye. Anything else you want to add to that, Janet?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's kind of it, to be honest, unless we want to spoil things. I don't know if I'm necessarily
we're in spoiler free at the moment.
Yeah, I'll keep it at that for now.
Yeah. Let me just say, one of my notes for this was, here it is. When new tropes kept getting introduced, if this was a drinking game, I'd be fucked. I was thinking to myself, let's plan out how many tropes were introduced and how drunk and how pissed would I be if this was the case.
How many points are you giving each of the tropes? Because, if you're doing a points-based drinking game, things would get interesting. And I think we should do that. I think that would be a really fun way to drink responsibly.
These 2 don't drink. It would just be me and you.
Well, there we go. More fun.
I could have a milkshake.
Yeah. I think Zoe has a question.
Did everybody done their rating bits yet?
Not yet.
I've just done mine. Me so far.
Okay, cool. I'm getting all my laptop's like freaking out.
Oh no!
I haven't in ages, so I'm getting all these notifications, like mainly all about the Weeknd's new album. Which, by the way, can we just? Sorry,
I've seen everyone like freaking out, and I'm like.
Anyway, my rating. I think I'm going to shock you all. 2.5 stars.
Not bad.
No!
I gave it 3 on Goodreads because it's at that end. It's sort of like if I was using the Corpar method, it would be 2.75. Okay. It's not enough to drop it down to 2 stars, but it was close. If the climax hadn't been the way it would have been 2 stars. That was what saved it, honestly. My review on Goodreads.
Wait, you like the climax? Sorry.
It was the most interesting bit.
We're going to be having words, but
my review was: I love this kind of story usually, but the clunky exposition and unclear world building and lore really dragged down the rating. It's not enough to give 2 stars, but definitely not my favorite read ever. I will probably continue with the series, but only because there's only one more book. If the series was more than a duology, I don't think I'd have the patience. The characters irritated me. Both the female POVs irritated me for very different reasons. Aless because she's too overconfident and she's too brash. Sabine because she's too sort of thing. Like,
I'm sorry, what was she?
Going on with them, really annoying. The only person I enjoyed listening to was Bastian, but the trouble is I had the audiobook and his narrator speaks so much faster than the other two, so I had to slow him down, which then put my reading length longer, so then I had to speed up for the other. It was a fucking nightmare.
Oh.
But yeah, I have so many block caps notes in this going, the lore and the world building and the mythology is terrible. Like, it's so bad. And I have so many things in this that I'm like, well, that's fucking convenient. Sequel baiting is amazing as well. And I think, honestly, if I'd read it like before you guys had finished it, I might have given it a 3 on its own merits. But seeing how you guys were reacting to it did kind of color it for me, but it definitely deserves the 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
So
that's something I was worried about with rating. I was like, how much, I mean, I don't know how much our ratings influence each other's ratings, you know, but
they don't normally, but I think because this one was something that should be right up my alley, and it just irritates me that there is potential here, but the way that it's executed, there are so many missed opportunities, and the plot is so conveniently laid out. Like, so many reveals are so convenient to pushing the plot forward, and there's the holier than thou archetype and things that I was like, have they been mentioned? I feel like this should have been mentioned previously. More lazy world building for cheap shock value, cheap sequel baiting, miscommunication tropes thrown in and not done well either. And clearly,
enemies to lovers in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I love the enemies to lovers trope. It's a good trope, but I don't like it when there's magic involved like this. So when they're fated to be together and they hate each other, but you know they're going to come together because the universe can't separate them. I'm just like, but it irritates me. I like enemies to lovers when they actually reconcile their differences, but that doesn't happen. Yeah, I have issues. And I feel like I'm going to go the way of Nori and actually knock this down a star the further this goes along, like Nori did with Binding.
The Binding.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
What's your rating? Yeah.
And then the void will have its turn.
I know, it's really, I can't. It's really weird not seeing Nori's face. I'm like, are they speaking? I gave it 2.5. It was 3 on Goodreads because you can't do half ratings. And I was like, I'm not going to do it 1 because that's just mean. Yeah, I gave it 2.5. I thought it was so annoying. It really annoyed me. I didn't like any of the characters. The only one I actually kind of liked was a diver. I read it as a diver.
I did as well.
And
it reminds me of Lady Godiva, so that's why.
Yeah.
I pronounced it Odiver in my brain.
Ooh, I like that.
That's good.
It's pronounced Adiva on the audiobook, so.
And the audiobook is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's so many things wrong with this book. I don't think it matters all that much.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also said I had it as Elise in my head as well. So we're going to have to just whoever we know who we're talking about.
LS, yeah.
I just found the whole thing. I just thought was really not. Is it mean to say poorly written?
No,
yeah, I think it's not mean. It's true.
Poorly written. Oh, hello.
Oh, is it a dookie baby?
No, it's my dad. It's not the cat.
Oh, John.
I thought it was just so badly written. Like, I just thought it was so, I can't explain it. Like, it was the characters I didn't connect to. I thought they were annoying. I just couldn't stand Bastian. I thought he was pretentious, and I thought the whole enemies to lover thing was so false and pathetic. I was like, oh, for God's sake. And I just, for once, I wish a book wouldn't end cliche. Like, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but because I very nearly just did. But it's just, nothing about it was enjoyable. Like, I enjoyed it. It's such an easy read. So it was like, it was easy to read. So I enjoyed it in that kind of perspective. And the fact that it's a story being told, I just like a story.
Yeah.
but I just didn't. I thought the characters were so flawed, and I thought the whole writing of it was just so dull. And the end, it just went on forever.
Yeah.
Every time something else happened, I was like, "This is the end," and then I was like, "It can't be the end because there's still 200 pages left."
Yeah, exactly.
And the Jules drove me absolutely mad. And
oh, that's her name.
Jules.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just everything about it was so annoying. And I just didn't think that it was well constructed. It just felt really false, and I can't explain it. But I mean, as I say, as a story, like, it was comfortable and easy to read, but it just didn't work for me. I thought it was going to be really exciting, and and some of it didn't make sense. I think I messaged Janet about it, and we couldn't quite come to an agreement on what we thought was right. Which obviously is a spoiler bit, so I won't say that.
As I say, maybe we will tonight.
Yeah, and the repetition of everything was just too much. Like, oh, my grace bones, I got this from my grace bones and my salamander skull.
Yeah, oh my god.
And I was like, and she's like, even with the heightened sense of my salamander, I was just like, yeah, we get it, you've got one.
I mean, isn't a salamander like this big? Because I'm just thinking of this
it's
tiny
so
little
cute.
bit.
It's like a little gecko. It's
Yeah.
so cute.
Lizard.
Yeah, it just didn't work for me. I didn't like any of the characters. I thought the relationships in it were forced and so cringe, and it just didn't work for me. So I gave it, obviously we can unpack it all a little bit later, but 2.5 from Zoe, I'm afraid.
I think that's kind of the average, I would say.
Yeah.
The Void.
The Void.
Hello, this is the Void. The Void gave it 2 stars.
Testing.
Because I'm going to read verbatim from my Goodreads review. It's spoiler free. It's like, 2 stars. I did not like this book. It's 200 pages too long. The characters are just terrible people, except Sabine and Marcel. The magic system is not developed at all, and it's uncomfortably heterosexual.
Love
Which
that.
is, since I've been reading more LGBTQ plus books, noticing when a world has a system which is very much, there is a girl, she meets a boy. Can I make it any more obvious? In the wise words of Avril Lavigne.
Our queen, our saviour.
But my slight controversial thing is I quite liked Sabine, and I liked Sabine's chapters the most, because that's where we got more about, like, the magic system, the world, the lore of, like, the magic. I liked the idea of the magic, and I wanted to know more. That's why I liked her stuff.
Yeah, I think she definitely had a lot of potential in that aspect.
Romance.
Yeah. I think for me, I just complained, and she was a bit like damsel in distress a little bit, and then it just seemed like she started to do what was sort of her role in this Luress world or whatever, because her best friend's just, that happens. I don't know. I mean, I was like, fair enough, like, she's driven to do this thing now. But yeah, I can't remember if it was Jess, someone said, like, sort of convenience for convenience sake a little bit.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Nori, do you have anything else for your review? General thoughts?
Not in a spoiler-free sense, no.
Awesome. Because I just wanted to say, like, in comparison, like you said you preferred Sabine's, I preferred Bastion's purely for Marcel.
Oh, Marcel.
Marcel is a sweet bean.
Saved this book.
He's just like the Deus Ex Machina. Like, though, I love him, but he is literally just there to further the plot. And
he is an exposition machine.
He is. He's like in, like, you guys won't get the reference, but he's like Armin in Attack on Titan, who is literally there to further the plot and be the smart one, but not in a as likable a way.
Yeah.
So that's how I think of him.
Can we? Is now a good time, Janet, for me to tell them who I think Marcel looks like?
Yes. Oh my god.
Okay. So I was messaging Janet about this, and I said, "This is how I imagined Marcel."
Mm-hmm.
But oh wait a minute, I clicked on an advert.
Mm-hmm. We're waiting.
Sorry, I'm scrolling. Wow, when did I send it?
Yeah, I saw Jess the other day, and it was I can't remember. I was trying to show it from one of our conversations anyway, and then I scrolled past. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know why. I was gonna say, I don't know why, but in my head I see him as like Josh Gad as LeFou.
Yeah, I said Milo from Atlantis, but chubbier.
Yes.
That is just exactly how I imagined him.
Marcel is like 16, so add a buttload of awkward teenager into that.
Mm-hmm.
They're all
Which
like
Milo already is.
They're all so young, and it's so annoying.
Yeah.
It's like 16, 17.
Well, it is
18,
a YA.
Maybe 18.
I just found it hilarious. It's like, because it's all I imagined him was
street urchins who murder people. Huzzah! Like,
it is a YA, and that's the age demographic. Like over 18 is not YA anymore, and it moves into new adult. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Mm.
Can we go to the spoiler zone now?
I was gonna say, Zoe, didn't you have questions that you wrote down, or were you going to? I can't remember.
I thought about it. Yeah, I didn't write any down, but I was aware that it's possible that we were going to have to lead it, which is fine. So I kind of thought about some bits that we could talk about, but I didn't write down a specific structure.
Okay, yeah, I haven't been able to do that as well because I literally finished 10 minutes before we got on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of my notes are Jesus Christ, this is so stupid. So
I don't actually have that many notes from the book. I don't even have to scroll that far down. I don't know if that's going to show up, but it's literally maybe like 10 things. 2 of them are about rules.
I don't take notes. The void speaks from the heart and hits with the fist.
I like that.
Well, Zoe, do you have any points that you'd like to bring up?
Sorry, say that again. It cut out.
Do you have any like points that you want to discuss, or
spoiler free?
Yeah, spoiler free.
Not spoiler free, no.
This is just like your little bobble is just moving every time you speak. Do I want to? I feel like I do want to kind of scavenge something positive, because if I was Kathryn Purdie listening to this, I'd feel mortified.
Yeah, the magic system.
The magic system. Yeah, I think they could, if they'd have branched out a little more on that and how it worked and the power of the moon and things, and the actual ferrying thing I found quite interesting. So I think there was the basis for quite a good plot. It just wasn't executed very well, in my humble opinion.
Potentially, if she'd gone not to the extent that Tolkien does, but gone to the lengths that Tolkien does to describe like the Shire and everything when you're reading Lord of the Rings, because it's like 30 pages or something just on the history of the Shire. You don't have to go into that sort of depth, but just a little bit more on the history of the Luress and how they fit into the world and the relationships of the gods, because 2 other gods just dropped in the middle. Like,
yeah, I feel like they're kind of referred to at the beginning a little, you know, like a little bit here and a little bit here, and then like, oops, I dropped it. Like, right.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
middle or something. Yeah.
It seems like there might have been like 2 very separate ideas.
Yeah.
Smushed together, like the whole magic system and this sort of thing with the bones. About the bones, and then this other sort of like soulmate story, like they shouldn't be together, but there's this whole thing where you're meant to like kill. Those seem like 2 separate stories that just sort of went, well, they're sort of both half ideas that I have, I'm gonna smush them together.
Yeah.
Anyone who writes things knows about those times where you're going, oh, this is half a story and this is half a story, put it together, we have something. All right.
There's most definitely a potential here, but I think the execution just could have been better.
Yeah, and I think as well, a lot of the chapters, like in themselves, they didn't really add anything. They just kind of like, I'm going to use Sabine as an example because I've also got both of these things written down as points, but it's just like we mentioned the repetition already with not just the grace bones and stuff, but also like the amount of times Sabine particularly ends her chapters with "I'm going to save Alis or Elise or whatever her name is." Like it's just kind of there, and she just kind of spends her chapter wandering around looking for this whatever bone. I don't know.
And the amount of times she backtracks on herself and goes back to the exact same spot.
Yeah, I can just imagine her like wandering around like in circles, like in the moors.
Like, doesn't this take place over like a month?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, nearly like 2 months. Yeah.
Oh, I have food.
I just find it. I found it all very. Like she had such an. Should we go into the spoiler zone? Because
I think so.
Yeah.
Fuck it, yeah. I feel like when this goes live, we need to put a swear warning because I'm not going to be able to hold my tongue.
Are we in the spoiler zone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just so. It's like she had such a good idea of this world and this story and this like process of Great Bones and the moon and these goddesses or whatever, but she got so caught up in trying to make a love story happen that she just kind of sidelined everything else and then forced a love story that actually nobody wanted.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if it was like a fantasy with a bit of romance, you know, like so the fantasy is the main element or the romance is the main element with a bit of, you know, choose one, not both.
Yeah, you can either go down the if you're going to go down the romantasy route, you need a good foundation in the fantasy section and in the romance section. And I'm going to bring her up. I know she's problematic, but Sarah J. Maas does that well. She has good groundings because she allows the romance to grow over several books. So Akatar is a shorter series, but it grows over longer books. Forever Glass, it grows over 7 whole books. So if you're going to do romantasy, you need to be able to
establish everything.
Yeah, you need to establish everything and not just go exposition dump.
Yeah.
I feel like what this did because it's only 2 books long. I think personally, thinking about it now, this is literally just dawned on me. The romance would have been better to have started really in the second book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hold off on what we know is going to happen. Like you know they're going to end up together, but drag it out.
They're on the cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, the void has returned with pasta.
Ooh.
But I think that if we dragged out that first kiss into the second book...
Oh, that first kiss, I'm going to throw up.
That annoyed me because she's all like, I need to rush because it's 5 minutes to midnight. And then she spends 5 minutes making out with Bastian. It's like, what are your priorities?
Yeah.
Go on.
It's so forced and it's so cringe. And it's like, you've known each other for like 2 days. Give over.
Yeah.
It does my nut in. And I think I just can't deal with, I mean, I'm not on for cliches anyway, but this was such a horrible cliche and just it would have been more interesting if what a diver does on the bridge. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we've finally taken a, you know, and spoilers on it, when she stabs him, I'm like, go on, Queen. Just because it was so different, and I was like, be brave and change the narrative, kill the love interest and make her do something different. And then it's like, oh, I've suddenly managed to recover from the stabbing into my spinal cord.
Like, exactly. Like he's been stabbed around his chest cavity in the back. You do not survive from that.
If like,
especially with someone who's like, I kill things for a living.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's kind of like, if you know he's going to be in the next book, like that whole thing was kind of unnecessary because it's just like you were saying, just shock value, just for more drama. But like they could have just like knocked him out with a stone or something, like so he's definitely not dead or whatever. Rather
or he
than
fell off the bridge.
Yeah,
he could fall off the bridge.
Falls moment.
Yeah, and also that leads me on. Actually, I forgot about this. The last 2 chapters with Elise waking up in this palace with her new man.
Prince sequel bait,
and then the one with Sabine arriving at their little den, whatever, and they're like, "Oh, who's knocking? Everyone's here." Like, whatever. Those, take them out. Doesn't need to be that. Like, I didn't care. I kind of was like, "Oh, we've got more. Okay." And then I read them, and then it was suddenly the acknowledgements. I'm like, who published this? Who edited this?
Honestly, none of it made sense, and it was just so unnecessarily repetitive. And I think there was never any she was so desperate to get so many different point of views in and so many different sections of the story that she didn't dedicate any time to actually building a story.
It feels
So it's
like a first
oh,
draft.
yeah.
It feels like it's not been alphaed, it's not been baited, it's not been edited.
It just feels really rushed and trying to get too much in and too much. I'm going to be a hero. It just was so.
Mm-hmm.
If it had
boring to
ended
read.
with like someone saying, "Oh, do you know who? Wait, that's Elise's real soulmate. You know who that is, right?" And it's like, "Oh, it's the prince," and then that be the end of it, and not having like her waking up at the prince's place, and like, or just having it be the guy who now has her is the prince. Bam, end. It's like, oh, is she okay? It's a prince. Holy fuck.
I think even having that as like a really short epilogue, like, it doesn't need to be in the main narrative.
No. Yeah. And what was I going to say? I think I said to most of you, like, on Messenger and stuff, I think, and this is where I thought it was going to go, because you spend the whole time with this, like, the bone flute being broken, but it's not really broken. So then they end up having two because Sabine's actually used her brain and she's made one herself. And then, well, I think she's made, anyway, they end up with two. So I was like, oh, well, her and Elise are going to end up on the bridge and they're going to do some cool fighting together as like besties again. And that never happened. And I was like, that would have been really cool, because if this is, we've got two main characters who are like strong and empowered, witchy woman kind of, I don't really know. But that never happened.
They
and then it's just kind of standing there with the prince, like, here's a knife. And, she doesn't really do anything. And I was like, come on, Sabine. Like, you spent this whole time sort of proving yourself to yourself. And now you're not, I don't know.
You've got the ultra rare sacred golden jackal bone that apparently does nothing.
Yeah.
I was just
like, oh, golden jackal is so rare, and it's like, oh, an owl brought her to me. This owl as well. I was like, oh, for goodness sake.
That's what pissed me off the most. Like, that's when I started with the block caps notes, which was, why don't they know the owl is Alara's? Why doesn't this lore make any fucking sense? So many plot holes / convenient moments that only exist to further the plot, and so intrigue. Newsflash, it's not intriguing, it's frustrating.
It's like she uses the owl just to get out of every like
situation.
Like, what do I do?
Every like, oh, I don't,
I'll follow the owl.
It's the Deus Ex Machina owl.
I also thought as well that Bastion being Elise's amour was so made to be so obvious that it was obvious that he actually wasn't her amour, because she wrote so much to try and make us believe. She's like, I feel it because I have to feel it, and you're definitely going to feel it too because you're actually my amour, and I know that you feel it because we've got this feeling, because you can't get away from it, because you're going to die because you're my amour. It's like, you're so obviously not her amour. It's hilarious.
And I mentioned as well, like, the idea of adding a new idea right at the end. Like, they should have introduced the prince way at the beginning, at least like name drop, oh, who's that walking through the town? Oh, that's the prince. Or like,
or that the king was,
that would have been better. Because at the end it
worked.
Or have like a chapter from maybe one of the other characters' perspectives of them going through the town and the prince doing a whole Cinderella, where is the princess I saw on the bridge with the,
because then it just feels like way too out of the loop a little bit. Like, keep that for the sequel then, if it's going to be so late in this one. Like, it doesn't need to be there.
I think as well, it was so obvious that, we're spoilers, that Sabine was going to be Elise's sister, just the way the relationship was with a diver, the queen. And
that's something that really frustrated me, the fact that Sabine immediately after finding out that Godiva is her biological mother, instantly in the narrative starts calling Godiva mother.
That's another thing
instead of still call, because if that happened to me, just as a void, if something came along and went, I'm your actual mother, I'm gonna need a good 2 weeks to process at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys,
but like, calling the mother immediately.
Yeah, for me, it felt a bit like, if you see your teacher outside of school several years after you've left school and you're like, oh, hi, Mr. Smith. And they're like, no, don't call me that. Call me John or whatever. It would feel weird because you're so used to them being one thing. So then, like you say, she's suddenly like, oh, hi, mother. And it's like, but also, I had the same problem with Elise calling her a diver, and she never called her mother, which I get is because they don't get.
She does for a really brief period in
sometimes.
one chapter. She flicks back. It's when she comes back to get the flute, and she thinks, "Oh, she's come to rescue me. She must love me, or she wouldn't endanger herself like this." And since she was kidnapped, she no longer refers to her as a diva, but by mother, and it shows how desperate she is. And then page 171, and we're back to a diver. When Alessa tells her about the flute, and she leaves, and Bastian saves her.
Yeah, because I get it's meant to show like they don't have that mother-daughter bond or whatever. Like I guess that's where they were going with it. But yeah, it was just weird that, like you say, Sabine is all like, "Oh, now she's my mother," and also when she has the revelation when she tells Elise at the end, like, "We're sisters," I just thought that was a little bit messy.
It was.
Yeah.
It then got kind of completely overshadowed by everything.
Yeah.
Overshadowed by everything else.
Yeah. Which is why I think if they'd had a final scene where they're both fighting on the bridge against like a diver or someone, they could have that moment. Maybe one of them gets injured, and then they're like, "Oh no, you're dying. I'm your sister." Or like, I don't know, but not that bad. But
it's just it was so forced as well. With when Elise was like, "Oh, I can't live without him," and I was like, "Girl, you haven't lived with him. Don't start."
He bought you a nice dress.
Honestly. And also, it's just Stockholm syndrome. That's literally what this book is.
Literally.
Because, he kidnaps her.
A diver's sacrifice, quote unquote. I was very confused. It's like, wait, you have so many more things you need to tell us about this world and about everything in it, and now you're gone.
And about your own part in this really weird ritual.
Yeah, what was all going on about that?
It's like, there's this ritual and that ritual. It's like, where's the ritual for making this make sense?
Yeah,
exactly.
I think what would have really benefited this book, maybe somewhere in the beginning, would be having some kind of like, I don't know, festival or like, I don't know, event with the Luris people. So, maybe, like how we would have something like, I don't know, what examples could there be? Like a Yule ball, so that
solstice or something.
Yeah, solstice thing with something tied in with the moon. So then, they can remember why they're doing this, and then we can learn as a reader why they're doing this as well. Because half the time I was like, why is this important?
Yeah,
I don't care.
Why is there so much murder?
Yeah.
Like exactly. It's just, she went out of her way from the Luress point of view, to make them appear to be the good guys, and then also from like Bastian's point of view to make them to be the villains, but it didn't really land on either side. Like I didn't feel strongly either way. And in a book like this, I want to feel strongly one way or the other. Like I want to either hate the Luress or I want to feel sorry for them because they're misunderstood. But I feel numb. And also I wanted to know more about the other Luress because they were more interesting.
Yeah. It's as if kind of Kathryn Purdie went into it with an idea that that the Luress were gonna be awful and evil. But then as she started to write the characters, she started to like the characters and didn't want them to be evil anymore. So somehow tried to manipulate the story so that they're actually the good guys.
Yeah.
And it didn't sit.
Yeah, and we've seen it been done multiple times. Like as an example, well, I haven't read the books, but Shadow and Bone in what's the other one? Six of Crows. Like they're bad characters, but we love them because whatever, they're the main guys. Like you're gonna like them and stuff. So like if that was her intention, she could have done it perfectly well. Like other people have done it many times before.
It's even like Selena. She's an assassin.
Yeah, exactly.
So with like the Luress, it's like I understand why you're doing this, but I don't understand why you're doing this. It's like, why is this the thing you have to do to become like an official?
And the fact that they're trying, that she's sown the seeds of there are loopholes in the mythology. Like, if you're going to create a mythology, don't create loopholes that your characters can exploit, because then it just takes away all of the tension, because anything's possible.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring it up again, but Akatar has something like that where there is a bit of a loophole, but it can only be exploited once, and like it's the resurrection loophole. It can only be really exploited once, but it's still there. But with this, I feel like the loopholes can keep coming back to bite the characters in the ass or bite the writer in the ass, and it's just like, if you're going to create a mythology, you create something that doesn't happen, because it just takes away all of the enjoyment of reading about it.
Definitely. And I think as well, she's written there's just too much going on. And what really bothered me, amongst many other things, was that Sabine is made out to be this pure, innocent little girl that can't bring herself to break her values and break her morals of murder and killing. And she's never made out to be anything special. Like, she's always put forward as a sideline character, which is great. She's the best friend, that's the role. And she's made that she can't do it, that it's going to be a huge thing for her to ever get anywhere. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, I killed this, I killed that, went hunting, I managed to do this, I'm going to kill a person, I have no issue, I'm going to find the golden jackal and kill it. It's like, you weren't made up to be anything special like this, or you didn't have any kind of plot line with the jackal, or trying to find the jackal, or any kind of hunting experience. It's just all of a sudden, oh, I've got to get over this, so I'm suddenly going to do it.
Yeah, also, she's like, she's built up to be like, oh, the one time she killed the salamander, she cried. And then, like, when she's doing all these other things, when she's, like, killing all these other animals for her grace bones, it's like, we don't see her in that situation. Like, it's just kind of like, oh, I did it. Easy. Like, maybe it's not a problem. Maybe she's just trying to switch her brain off and not think about it. But then let's see that, don't just say it's done and dusted and, on to the next one. Because, then it's just, I felt very detached from her, actually, and all the characters in a lot of ways. I just didn't really feel that connection. I think
when you've got a character like that, I'm just trying to find the exact phrasing, because I saw it, someone said it recently. It's like when you've got a human character in a world of, say, Fae, for example, I want to see that human girl win over the Fae without becoming one of them, sort of thing. It takes away the gravitas of what she's doing. And with Sabine, I would have liked to have seen her done all of this, like do all of this sort of stuff with the single grace bone. I don't want to see her do it now that she's like some OP hero, because she's got such good grace bones and she's got the best ones in the whole world. And
also I expected more when she got her jackal grace bone.
It was suddenly like oh, I don't have a lot more.
Nothing changed,
like,
really.
Oh, I feel extremely violent.
It's like, that's how she is. That's again, it's like a shortcut. It's like
feeling of it, or is it just I feel violent? Best to press that.
That's how she's managed to get around the loop of the fact that Sabine wasn't someone that could kill things. Oh, I'll kill the golden jackal by mistake. I'm being forced to by an owl, and all of a sudden, then she's got past that barrier of the fact that she doesn't like killing things.
Yeah, and also the owl. It felt very much like a Lifetime movie. Like, it's just like, oh, there's this amazing magical animal that is helping me on the path to my destiny, sort of thing. And it just felt so cliche.
I would have loved it if both the owl and the jackal sacrificed themselves, so Sabine would have these grace bones once she'd sort of gotten her shit together a little bit more.
Or if they had been actually like the gods and they were playing with her mind, I would have loved it. I don't trust Alara. I want her to be slightly villainous, but I don't think that's the way it's going to go. She's going to be like the holier than holy, the purer than pure, good side of things, and Tyrus is going to be like the dark underlord. And I'm just like, well, the dark underlord needs a break every now and again. But yeah, I would have much preferred it if they were there and like playing with her mind, the way that Tyrus was at the end with Aless through the gate.
Yeah, like, what was that about?
I think that
that came out of absolutely nowhere.
It did. I think that would have been much more. It would have had much more of a payoff if that had been the jackal and the owl with Sabine messing with her head, and like you see her slow descent into madness because she's hearing things that no one else can hear. Like, that would have been a much better story.
Yeah.
It's just
Speaking of things that make you have a slow descent into madness, Jules.
oh,
That is the worst.
I have a lot to say about Jules.
So bad. Just
starters,
terrible.
Her whole point is to drive the main two characters apart. That's literally her whole... She's a plot device. That's all she is. And no matter how much I love him, so is Marcel. He's a plot device.
Yeah. What was I going to say?
And she's also like, oh, I snapped your bone whistle. It's like, I didn't actually snap your bone whistle, but now I'm going to steal it when, like, it's obvious you need it because some shit's going down. But my needs are better than your needs because you're so bonded to the guy I have a crush on.
Also, we have to stretch the plot out another 200 pages.
Yeah. Like the bit when, I think it's the bit when there's the first like time we see the ferrying and then Alis escapes and they're following her to the the shore or whatever, wherever she is. And then I think it's around that point when Jules takes her bones or something like that. I can't remember. But she takes them and then she just buggers off. And then it's like, well, first of all, you've just got them back at least. Like, why are you giving them away again just for the bone, like the bone flute or whatever it is? Second of all, why do you trust her? Like, we get why you trust Bastian because he's your soulmate, whatever. But like, there's no reason why she would ever trust Jules. Like, I just didn't get it. I don't know. It just annoyed me. And then, Jules just goes away again and then she has to sit in the cave for like another 2 weeks. And I'm like...
And doesn't it, at some point, doesn't Jules save at least something and then she says, you'd do the same for me? It's like, since when did you two become best friends?
Yeah.
So,
and then they're not again.
What?
Yeah, and then you hate each other again.
Crossing of the bridge, that should have been the climax of the book. So it should have been leading up a lot longer to that point.
Which bit?
And have it be...
The first crossing.
Like, maybe, just maybe, Elise, signal down one of the other people going, hey, it's me, I'm still alive, this person has the bone flute.
Yeah.
They won't give it back. Then, like, 20,000 trained people would just be like, here, give us the bone flute, you dang bink.
But also, she could have just gone, catch, lob it.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw the thing.
It just, none of it worked. It was like there were so many different things going on.
What's
like, oh, I've escaped.
Bone as well, if you can't fly with the damn thing.
What's the point of the whole thing is the fact that as soon as the grace bones are gone, they're suddenly powerless. It's like, surely the grace bones are only supposed to be a complement to your already mystical being.
Amplifiers,
amplifiers. Like it's instead of you take them away, suddenly
one is
nothing.
so they can see the dead. It's like, get a cat one. Cats can see the dead. I'm 100% sure of that. But also, don't kill cats. I will murder you.
Yeah.
Don't listen, Elgar.
It's just, I found it really disappointing because it was set up to be quite good. And then I just didn't like Bastian and Elise together. I was like, you're so typical and so predictable. And Jules and Elise was set up to be a proper love triangle. But then it just suddenly was abandoned. And it's like, well, you're just now you're
there's
suddenly
no gay in this universe.
And I just find it, I don't know, there was just too much trying to happen and then it didn't happen.
You're saying there's no gays in this universe. That's where we read the second one and we find out Jules goes across to Aless and Aless down to Bastian and it goes around like that.
Yeah.
Bastian's just annoying. I'm so in love with her.
Sabine, who is actually Bastian's proper soulmate.
Yeah, I thought about that actually.
Yeah,
That's where I thought it was going because I got the characters of Elise and Jules mixed up in my brain. Okay. So I was like, wait, no, not Jules. Elise and Sabine mixed up in my brain because I'm like, oh yes, Sabine, the redhead on the cover. So
I remember, I don't know what page this was on, but I am convinced at some point Elise says something like Bastian has to be her amour because no one else could have walked on the bridge or something like that.
Yeah, she does say that, yeah.
So
several times.
It turns out that's not true.
Yeah, how does that work? Like, it's never explained why he's allowed to walk on the bridge.
It is. A diver says at the end that anyone can go on the bridge.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make, again, it's like...
I'm just remembering, isn't there a bit where she says, like, I might be misremembering, but isn't that magic that stops anyone except your Amole from stepping on the bridge?
That's what I thought, but apparently
that's
what
what
Elise
it
said
seems
at
like
the beginning.
it should be that.
Yeah, it's retcon.
Also, like the throwaway line from a diva, whatever. Like her throwaway line of like, "Oh, I've been feeding good souls to the underworld." It's like, hang on,
oh yeah,
that. Tell us more.
Yeah.
It's just like a throwaway line.
Yeah.
So giving the good souls and the bad souls to the underworld to try and get her boyfriend back.
Yeah, and she's like willing to sacrifice her own daughter, like.
Honestly,
and then she just jumps in herself. I was like, well, you could have done that.
What?
Yeah, that does all the time.
A diva, blah, blah. She says, obviously, because Elise says, you have to be my Moor because no one else could have got on the bridge. How do you think you got onto the bridge? That's set up as the truth. Like, and there's nothing that indicates that that's not true. So you're like, okay, well, that's right, because they're more whatever. But then a diver's like, no, anyone could have walked onto the bridge. It's like, oh, so
like,
bit?
Yeah, exactly.
On yourself.
And also, why do we take a diver's word for it as well? Like, I don't trust her. I think she's a liar.
There is a tiny bit in the prologue where, like, Bastion's father is killed on the bridge, but then Bastion runs onto the bridge as his father is dying. It's like, does that count as anything? Or have they already done
magic
the
just disappeared?
Like, I suppose because he's already died.
It's like
magic, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I thought as well. It's just none of it
makes
tallied
sense.
up, and then Sabine's suddenly like, "I'm going to go and fight Jules and attack her." It's like, again, you didn't even want to be the witness, and now you're happy to attack her. Like, it doesn't, and you managed to injure her. It's like, is all of this because I couldn't decide? Is Elise meant to be the protagonist or is Sabine supposed to be the protagonist? It doesn't really. I know there's.
And how is this the first time the scary witch ladies who come around basically almost every full moon?
Yeah.
How is this the first time they've been attacked?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It just
doesn't. Have any of them been as brash and as annoying as Celeste before this? I don't think so.
Yeah, they do say that they do say though at the beginning that that the chained do fight back. And that's why they're all so well trained to do it. But what is the reason that this time it's so overpowering? Is it because they don't have they had the wrong bone flute? Didn't
I
they?
think so.
That's why.
They wouldn't quite listen. But then, like the second time, it's like they're feeding on light. It's like, what the hell is light, and how are we just hearing about it now?
And light is mentioned offhandedly, but I think it's like your soul.
Yeah, effectively, like it's
like, and if they eat all the light, then the person's soul and body dies. It's like, how is this? How is soul death a thing? Why don't you just kill the chained souls?
It's basically a backhanded way of getting around not copywriting the kiss of death for the Dementors in Harry Potter, of sucking out the soul.
Yes.
It's literally just a backhanded way of not being a Dementor and performing the kiss, which is when they suck out your soul. That's literally what it is.
That is literally because only wizards could see Dementors. So when they're around regular people, it's like, oh, I feel really unwell. I'm feeling really sad.
Yeah.
It comes to something when she who must not be named does a better job at this trope than someone who is
she did it. It's her thing. That's why she introduced it. So anything now that's trying to cover it up or copy it is not going to be as strong because everyone's going to be like, you're basically just trying to copy Harry Potter here and trying not to get done for it. And it just doesn't play. And the fact that all of this has been so sacred for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and all of a sudden they find another bridge underground, and all of a sudden these symbols make sense, and all of a sudden mere mortals can find the land bridge.
A 16-year-old child who read some books
and had a little bit of a hint from
Elise.
Elise.
Didn't even know existed.
And it just so happens that Sabine is on the bridge at the time when Aelis's true amour comes along, and he just so happens to have seen a map that one time which also has a symbol which Sabine recognizes, even though Aelis didn't know what it was. Like,
and all this, like, I am Elis, like, and like doing all the rituals to Tyrus in her name. I was just like, this is confusing.
It's like, wait, when did we get blood swap magic on someone else's behalf. That's new. That should have been like put in as like something beforehand as like a forbidden ritual. And why is she always praying to the god of death when their god is the heaven lady? It's just I could go on about this forever, but I do need to duck out soon. The boy needs to go play some Dungeons and Dragons.
There's no tension build up between Elise and Adova either, in the sense that she just makes out that she just doesn't love her kid, and she favors Sabine, and then it's like, but you could do so much more there. You could talk about the shadow that crosses her eyes when she looks at Elise. That's only actually for the reader, so that as a reader you look at the relationship and you think maybe there's something more going on here, and maybe a perspective of Adova at one point where she goes and she talks about how it crushes her soul to look at Elise like that. Even leave it kind of open-ended, so you're like, what is she talking about? And maybe there should be a bit more about Adova. Maybe she should have had some perspective chapters, like creeping into Elise's room and cutting a lock of her hair, but with no explanation, just so you kind of get an idea that there's a reason as to why there's this shift of relationship between the two of them. Because at the end, when she comes to rescue her, it's like, oh, this is the only way. And they keep saying how powerful these Luress are and how they're so strong and you have to be so prepared, yet they seem to be defeated every single time.
By literal children.
And also, like, mortals, Bastian and Jules can fight these chained ghosts, even though they can't
street urchin children is way too strong.
Yeah.
With that, I must go. Bye-bye.
Enjoy D&D.
Goodbye, the Void.
It's Pride and Prejudice based.
Ooh. Amazing.
Yes. I'm very
Goodbye,
excited.
Void.
Bye, Void.
You will be void free. Bye-bye.
Oh,
I should.
bless them.
Yeah.
It's such a taxing story. Can I also, while I remember it, Janet, this is what I said to you. I would like to try and clear up who is whose father, because I said to Janet, I hold issue with the girl's fathers. When she tells Sabine that she's her daughter, she says that her amour wasn't either of the girl's father. Then later Sabine is saying they have different dads.
Yeah.
So on page, please say I took a picture where you can see the page number. Of course I couldn't do that. I took a picture of the whole page, but not the page number. Either way, it doesn't matter. It says when she's talking about her being the mum, being her mum, she says the stream rushes over my feet and splashes at my ankles. I don't feel the cold. What are you talking about? Then she says, your father, he wasn't my amour. He wasn't Elise's father either. So that indicates that the same guy wasn't either of the girl's father, which indicates that the guy she actually loves is both of the girl's father.
So she says, your father wasn't my amour. But what?
Yeah, she says
your father, he wasn't my amour. He wasn't Elise's either. But she's talking to Sabine.
Amour was Elise's father.
Yeah, but she doesn't say that. She says to Sabine, your father wasn't my amour. He wasn't Elise's either. Which means that the amour wasn't either of them.
I think what she was trying to say was like...
No, what she's saying is Sabine's father wasn't her amour, and that same person wasn't Alessa's father. Alessa's father was the amour, is what she's saying.
I think that's the implication, but it's so unclear. Like,
it's written so poorly.
I mean, maybe there's some big plot twist in the second book.
That's so badly written. There is no way on earth anybody could understand that is what she meant. That is written as in that guy wasn't either of the girl's father.
Yeah. It's just, it feels like the stereotype of what you would think an indie published book would be. That's not saying that indie books are less than, because they definitely are not. They go through the same sort of scrutiny as traditionally published books, but this is what it feels like people think of when they think of an indie published book, in that it doesn't go through that scrutiny. for me, it feels like it's barely gone through a first draft.
Yeah.
There are so many plot holes that you only pick up when you've gone through your first range of structure edits, and then you sent it off to your editor. That's come back, and then you go through again and edit, send it back to the editor, then you send it to your alpha team. It feels like she's just sent it out and not gone through those first 2 rounds of edits, which you need to do.
Yeah.
Bastian isn't a strong character either. He's
I think that's why I like him.
It's just everything about him is so annoying, and his relationship with Elise is so
forced.
Yeah, it's so forced. And it's like, I have to make these two have a relationship, even though it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there's no actual build up of their relationship. It's just they look at each other a few times and accidentally touch hands, and he lies on her a couple of times, and it's like, oh, I'm actually in love with her.
There's no chemistry build up.
And then the kissing, and like their whole relationship is so cringe and so cliche. And then, like I say, I was so pleased when she stabbed him, because I was like, finally, the love, he's going to die. She's going to have to figure it's not going to be that route. But then somehow he manages to survive a fatal injury. But that's fine. You move.
And he's probably not paralyzed either. He's going to come back all guns blazing, you know.
He gets. He's
like,
drained of energy.
The least you could do is pull a tail and put him in a wheelchair.
Literally. It's like he's so drained of energy at this point. He hardly eats. He's a thief. He doesn't, like, so in the sense that he's not respected by society, so he doesn't have anything. He's been on the go for frigging days and days and days. He's being attacked by these chain things, which are probably also stealing his light at some point. Then a huge queen that owns 5 grace bones, who is the power of, and is fully charged on Alara's moonlight, stabs him in the back with a ritual knife to the point that he's lying in a pool of his own blood. He's unattended for hours.
Yeah.
And somehow he manages to survive it.
Yeah. On very little energy as well.
Yeah.
Like, no way. He would bleed out in a matter of minutes.
And he did. He does. He dies. He's there, like, lying in a pool of his own blood that he's just bled out. He suddenly comes back to life, and then Jules runs with him for a few miles, which isn't going to help the situation.
Yeah.
I just thought it was
also,
so,
I imagine Bastien, even though he's like a thief, I imagine him being quite broad and quite big, like 6 foot in my head. So Marcel and Jules, I imagine, are more like in the 5'8" range. So I can't imagine them carrying him.
I would have been far more I think it would have been stronger if Bastien actually died or did want to be with Jules. Like, that would have been far more interesting, in like their relationship during this becomes stronger. And because he's at the beginning, it's written that Bastien can't figure out, because he kisses Jules first, doesn't he? So it's as if they suddenly decide that they want to be more than friends and stuff, and that's what the implication is that he wants to be with her, but he can't just yet because they've got to get this thing out of the way. And then it's suddenly, no, I'm in love with the girl we captured, even though I've hated her race for the entirety of my life.
He decides after he and Jules have like 6 weeks or something together, and he's just like, nah, it's not working. Like, he sees her as a friend and as a sister, but she can't take the fucking hint. And that's when the miscommunication trope came in, because he said to her the phrase that Aless thought he just said to people he loved, and it was just like,
oh my god, that
so
really annoyed me. I was like, are you kidding? Like,
so pathetic.
Yeah.
So
it was such a badly written book. I'm so sorry.
Like that bit when, you know, what's she doing, getting him a drink or something, and then she hears Jules saying whatever the line is, and then she's like, and I was like, what? And then she's like, I can't believe she said that to him. You know, and I was like, really? Like,
I know. It was so poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I will be finishing the book, only because I've got it. I've got the second book. And because I have some sort of morbid curiosity how numb it's going to make me feel.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
And if it was more than one more book, I wouldn't be reading it. But only because
the second one's going to be about them trying to get Elise out of the castle, isn't it? Even though she's kind of submitted herself to being there. And this prince is suddenly a huge deal.
Yeah, and I haven't even actually read. Hang on, I'll get it and I'll read the blurb.
Yeah. But even though he's never mentioned until the end.
No, never mentioned.
And his father's never mentioned being ill as well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's not even a hint towards him. And it's like, you don't know who I am. It's like, hun, no one knows who you are. Don't say that as if it's so...
And also, the bit
mystical.
when he's introduced and he, like, whispers in Sabine's ear what his name is, and she's like, you know, like, end of EastEnders episode kind of thing. And then you have to wait, like, 2 or 3 more chapters. But even at that, like, you don't even find out who he is in the next Sabine chapter straight away. So I was sitting there reading, like, well, who is this guy? Like, and then it's like, oh, he's the prince. Like, no big deal. I was like, so why was it a big deal just now? Like,
100%.
So I've got the sequel.
Yeah.
Got Sabine and Loveless on the front cover. Let's see. Bone criers have been burying the dead for centuries, a dangerous duty that requires the sacrifice of their amore. I studied German, so I apologize for my French pronunciation. The men destined to love them and die, but alas, Sabine and Bastien are working to chart their own course and rewrite the rules of the afterlife as they try to break the soul bonds that have led to the deaths of so many, including Bastien's father.
What?
Yeah.
Makes it sound like that happened in the first book, which it does, but not really.
Yeah.
And it makes it sound like they're the ones that are... Oh, sorry, Jess, carry on.
I'm only a quarter of the way through this.
Sorry, carry on.
Sabine struggles to maintain her authority as matron of her famille, so she's now the matron.
Of course.
The role always destined for her sister, even as she fights to control the violent jackal power within her. Bastien is forced with a new devil. Bastien is faced with a new devil as the spirits of the underworld threaten the souls of his friends and his father.
Huh?
I know. Aless attempts to resist her mother's siren song as she's drawn into her own version of the underworld. How will she save her friends once she's cut off from their world? This pulse-pounding follow-up to Bone Crier's Moon is a story of love, sisterhood, and determination as 3 friends, are they friends, find the courage and power to shatter the boundary between the living and the dead.
Sounds awful, not gonna lie.
It sounds even more confusing.
Yeah.
It's just changed the plot. It's changed everything about it.
I mean, to be honest, that has brought up something I was thinking while I was reading the first one, which was, I wonder if we're going to see, like, in the dead people, anyone that the characters know. And I'm surprised that no dead people was, you know, like someone's dad or whatever. Because let's be real, it's probably going to be a guy or someone's dad. So I'm not surprised that it comes up in the second book, actually. But
like, why is Bastien's father suddenly coming back?
Yeah, exactly. Surely he would have been ferried a long time ago.
Yeah, he was ferried a long time ago, like 8 years ago.
And then there's the whole Sabine and Bastien aren't friends. It says that in the thing at the beginning, at the end of this one. And the soul bonds. I don't see the point of introducing this huge sacred law just to make it possible for 3 mortal 16-year-olds to figure out how to break it.
Also, I've just seen something in the covers of these books. There are faces at the top. Huh? Elara and Tyrus. So you got Elara on the front in the leaves at the very top, and Tyrus is on the.
Oh yeah,
I've literally just seen it.
I don't see Tyrus. Where is he?
He's in this one.
Oh right.
Can you see it?
Oh yeah. That's clever.
That is that's the most clever thing. Props to the cover designer.
Oh, the owl, you mean?
Jacket art by Charlie Bowater. Cheers, Charlie.
Yeah.
Here, Janet. That's Elara's face there.
Oh. Okay. I was looking at the owl and the wolf, or whatever it is. Cool. Huh?
What's that?
Look at the A and the T in Kathryn. There's an owl.
No,
there's not.
There is on mine. I don't know if you'll see it on my. Hang on. I don't want to touch the screen because it'll move. Wait. This is back. Oh, this is really hard. Hang on.
Do you realize that you can take photos and send them and share them in this stream, right?
About there somewhere. There's an
Mine's
owl.
at the
I see
bottom.
them.
Mine's at the
I see
bottom.
them.
Wait, I don't
Yeah.
see it.
It's in the leaves.
Oh, because your name's in the okay.
It's in the leaves.
My
And then
name's
underneath the
spot.
D in Purdie, there's a jackal or whatever it is.
Yeah. Top left, though, there's the owl. Underneath, well, on mine, it's got Stephanie.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it. I see it.
That's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, but right in the middle of it, that's where the face is.
Yeah. Interesting. And what you say? There's another face of what's his name?
Yeah, Tyrus is on the sequel.
Oh, okay. I thought
But
you
I
meant
can't
his
see
first
any
name.
aminals. I see no aminals.
Animal.
Animal. No, I don't see no aminals.
I didn't notice any of that.
I literally saw it looking like just sat here. Also, how long is this book? So the last one was 480 pages, right?
Ugh.
Something like that, yeah.
480 pages. I ain't getting back.
This is 434.
Okay.
What's going to happen? Let's be real, because the only implication that the sacred Lurus life is going to fall is the fact that Elise says at the beginning that she's not going to bear children and she's going to do something. I don't understand what she was going to do, but
she was going to kill her Amor and basically secede the power to Sabine. All of... So that's basically already happened.
Yeah.
So Sabine's clearly going to be the matron because Elise is chilling up in the tower with Princey Boy.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both going to go to try and just destroy it all. What's the point?
Yeah.
I will let you know when I read it, but it probably won't be for a few more months because I have books on my TBR that I actually want to read this month.
Everything is so... I set my jaw and I reach. Shut up.
It feels like it hasn't been edited. It doesn't feel like it's been crafted. It just feels like it's word vomit on a page.
Yeah. And the relationship between Elise and Bastian is so bad. And it's as soon as they get together, I'm just like, what? Where was that?
Normally, that first kiss, I'm just like, yes, oh my god, yes, like finally. But this, I was just like, okay, it finally happened. Cool, next. Which you shouldn't be about a first kiss scene.
But I didn't want it to happen either. I was like, why is this? Just do something different. Like, and it was so cringe. But I'm not good with cringe at the best of times, so I'm not the best person to pass judgment on that.
It was the fact that it said, I love you, and it's like, wait, I didn't hear you. Can you say it again? I love you. It's like, one more time. She cuts him off halfway. I'm just like, no.
It's old.
Yeah. It feels like this should have come out around the same time as Twilight.
Yeah.
It feels like that sort of era of YA romance, like romantasy. It feels like it's trying to recapture like the early 2010s. And newsflash, we're not there anymore.
There's a reason why.
Yeah.
It feels like it's trying to hop on so many different tropes. So you've got like the witch trope, which is a big thing, and it's still a big thing in fiction. So many witch books are coming out this year. It's trying to hop on the fated lovers, the star-crossed lovers, the doomed lovers. It's trying to hop on the SJM rich fantasy, romantasy world cliche. It's trying to hop on the cruel prince, enemies to lovers that shouldn't really be lovers but somehow work. Jude and Carden work so much better, I'm just going to say it. It's trying to hop on the flawed characters. So again, the Cruel Prince, Six of Crows, it's trying to hop on all of those tropes and put it into one book, and it just doesn't work.
No,
I mean, that's like I was saying right at the beginning, like if this was a trilogy, like break up the books so they're not so long for a start, because like I said again earlier, like I think the reason why I almost got to the acknowledgements and expecting another chapter is because it happens so often where a new idea is introduced and you just don't know where it's going to end. So then I was like, oh my god, she's in the tower with the prince. Oh my god, we're back with Bastian. Like, you know, expecting more. Not that I wanted more, but at the rate it was going, I was like, well, it's just going to carry on, isn't it? It's never going to finish. But like they really easily could have broken it up into 3 books. I think, you know, if you're saying the second one's like 400 and something pages, like yeah, like the length isn't necessarily the problem. It's just that, yeah, like we said, like there's so much going on which doesn't really add anything. You know, so keep the length if you want a 450 page book or whatever, but make it worthwhile. And if you want all these different things happening, split them across more books, because that way, A, you're going to get more money because you're going to get more sales in theory. B, the reader isn't getting so frustrated with everything that's happening and they're not getting confused. And C, like, it'll probably make it more rounded, I guess. And
I think it would have been, personally, how I would have preferred it to have gone would be Elise is captured by these guys, and maybe Bastian starts learning about her. Maybe Marcel and Elise, just because that friendship I quite liked. Marcel and Elise, they were quite sweet, and I think that could have been built upon more. And then Bastian could have maybe started to get jealous. He could have started to realize that he was getting feelings for Elise. Maybe if it was just physical, maybe it's because he was still rebounding off the fact that him and Jules had split, but actually Jules and him were destined to be together. But and then Bastian falls in love with Elise because he's, whether it's genuine or it's because they're stuck together for so long and it's that kind of infatuation or whatever. And she could be of like leading him on and like making him feel that they're loving each other. And then the final bit is on the bridge, the land bridge, when she escapes and they chase after her. She could be on the bridge with her mother behind her. He's like, Elise, don't do it. Like, your mother's behind you. She doesn't love you. But actually it's been a ploy the whole time. And Adova and Elise have been working together. And Bastian thinks that Elise loves him and they're in love. And he's actually in love with her. But Elise doesn't actually care. And she just stabs him there on the bridge and kills him with her ritual knife. Sabine's behind him, like, and then his soul comes out, and then Elise like ferries him back down into the underworld or something like that. Just something so twisted and different. And this whole love story had been built up throughout the whole thing. But then at the end, it's completely twisted. And actually, Adiva's, this powerful queen. Elise is this huge queen with all her grace bones. She's like, you're such a fool to think that a mere mortal could change the ways of my life or whatever. Stabbed. Jules is there watching. Marcel's like, oh no. And then boom. And that's the final bit on the bridge with the ferrying. I think that would have been far stronger.
It feels like, and I'm gonna compare this to another book series, but it feels like she realized how these two was just so different that they wouldn't ever come together, that she kind of went the Anna Todd route of turning with After making Harden so awful, she then had to make her mother even worse so that Tessa would run to Harden because he's the lesser of two evils. And it feels like she kind of did that here because Adiva is so awful, but Bastion's not much better.
No.
Like, it's so frustrating, dude.
It's such a frustrating book to read.
Why can't Bastion just be a cinnamon roll from the get-go?
I just don't like him. I didn't like him from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think Marcel should have been grown. Marcel should have been more of a thing, and I think his relationship with Elise should have been made more of. I think because it was just stronger. Like, what was the point of Marcel having a love interest?
Yeah.
So they had somewhere to hide at the end.
Exactly.
It didn't bring anything, or to take him out of the runnings for him and Elise. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kathryn, wasn't for us.
Yeah. LDR, this book irritated us, but I'm a glutton for punishment, so.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what you think of it, though.
Yeah.
You constantly go, oh, Jess, I think you'll love this. I think you'll love this.
I did think you'd love it because it had all the things that you love, like the enemies to lovers and things like that. I was like, Jess is going to
romantic setting. Yeah. It just irritated me so much.
And the map at the beginning didn't really bring much to it. I don't really like maps at the beginning of it because I find myself constantly going back to it. Yeah.
I don't think
yours doesn't have a map
on Kindle, but
I skipped over it.
But I always find myself going back to it. Like I'm where if it doesn't have a map, I just imagine it. But when there's a map, I feel like I have to know where it is.
See, I love maps, but
I do. But it didn't bring anything to it. Like, we don't talk about the Hollow, or is that where the thing is? Is that where the land bridge is?
I don't know.
We don't talk about any of this.
Yeah, near the Beau Palais.
The hinterlands, the
Hinterland,
Royal Shipyard.
the Royal Shipyard is mentioned like briefly.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't know. I'm sorry, Kathryn.
So yeah, that's our stream for
Yeah.
Bone Crier's Dawn, Bone Crier's Moon, even.
Yeah, you got Dawn to come.
Yeah, I keep getting these muddled up. Like which one's
The only Dawn we need to concern ourselves with is Dawn FM, Abel's new album that dropped today. That's the only Dawn we need to be thinking about.
This is true. Janet, do you want to introduce our January book club pick?
Yes.
I've got it here.
So do I.
Ah,
I
you
have one, but I'm probably going to.
Great.
You can tell I've read this before several times. It's also a charity shop copy, but I've got one on my Kindle, so I'm probably going to take that to Russia when I go back. If I go back, fingers crossed. So January's pick, which I have not actually started yet, but I've read it 3 times already, so it doesn't matter. 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, my favorite book. So I'm expecting 4 and 5 star ratings, guys. I'm not going to lie. Any less than 4, I'm going to be disappointed, and I might just not show up to the stream.
You wouldn't let a 3-star go undefended, Janet. We all know that.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I'll come all guns blazing, being like, right, guys, I've seen your Goodreads reviews. But yeah, it's got 2 characters. There's Mariam, who kind of kicks off the first half of the book. And then later on, we have Layla, who's much younger than Mariam. So we've got 2 different like generations of women living in Afghanistan, both before and during the Taliban. This was written, I'm not sure when exactly. Bear with. 2007. So wow, okay, 15 years ago.
The fact that was 15 years ago is disgusting.
I know, crazy, isn't it?
I started secondary school in 2007.
Yeah.
Mad. So yeah, I mean, I haven't read it since I was in my 3rd or 2nd year. I think I did I made a presentation about it because I was like, I'm gonna get this in my degree somewhere. But yeah, it's very sad. There are sad bits.
Actually, I did do it in my master's year in a history essay.
Love that. But I think especially obviously with the re-rise of the Taliban, I guess in recent months, it's going to be an important one to read. And I think there are some, like, I mean, there's definite content warnings. Off the top of my head, I can't really remember very many of them. But if you Google it, like, you know.
Well, going by the fact that the Kite Runner has a rape scene, I'm going by that there's going to be some.
There's, from what I remember, there's definitely like domestic abuse and violence. It
wouldn't be a Janet book without those sorts of themes.
Arranged marriage. I think like public stoning or like something like that. Those are the main ones that I remember. But yeah, it's really, really well written. The writing is much better, I think, than Bone Crier's Moon. So yeah. I don't really know what else to say about it. I'm excited to read it again. It's been a while, so we'll see.
You and your rereads, honestly.
I never reread anything, so I'm just here like.
I was going to say, I'm going to reread it here.
Yeah. Do you know what I am going to reread though? Is The Fault in Our Stars. I'm looking forward to reading that again. I don't know why. I'm really keen to read that again.
I'm currently rereading Crescent City, so.
I'm reading Peter Pan and I'm not loving it. So yeah.
I'm reading The Midnight Library.
Oh, I read The Midnight Library. When was that? In like November?
Yeah.
It was like continue this after we finished live.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so 1,000 Splendid Suns. Join us next month when we talk about it.
By that point, also, this and the previous 2 streams will be live. They're currently private, but I will be making them go live over the next 3 weeks. So you'll have hours and hours of content of us just over the course of a few weeks.
And I think this is actually the most volatile discussion we've had of a book thus far in the full 12 months.
The most agreed upon.
We've
ever had in the club.
And I think Jess, I was saying to you, like I think a lot of the books last year, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I rated them quite nicely, like the book club picks, because I didn't want to be mean. But then we got to this one, I was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. Like, we've been doing this for a year, and it's going to carry on in 2022. If I don't like it, I'm just going to be like, look, guys,
I don't like it.
I
didn't hold back with Southern Book Club, so I was like, sorry guys, I hated it.
Yeah, I genuinely liked pretty much every book we read. I just found Transcendent Kingdom was probably my least favorite of the whole year, just because I'm not big-brained enough.
Yeah, it was different, and but I think the important thing is none of this is a personal attack on the person that picked the book. It's just preference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, nothing against the authors ever.
Unless they're homophobic, transphobic, racist, anything like that, which this book definitely isn't.
No.
So yeah, draw your own conclusions. You can listen to us, or you can go and read it. We're not telling you.
Maybe we've influenced you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can figure out the real reason that it's written so bad.
Yeah. Anyway, we will see you all very soon. Stay safe, everybody. And we'll see you next month for 1,000 Splendid Suns.
Woohoo!
Bye.
Bye.